Hi, and welcome at the Boundary Breakers Collective talk show. My name is Helena Demuynck, and I'm your host. And as you probably know, we are here talking with people that break boundaries and that live a life by design. And the first time I met Sonja, I already knew that she was a boundary breaker. So when I launched this talk show, she was like the first on my list that I connected with in order to be on the show, because you will hear why. She is really breaking boundaries. She is challenging the status quo. She rocks. You will find out very soon. So Sonja is a strategic visionary, an award-winning innovation executive, advisor, executive coach, an artist, and a facilitator. She's originally from Belgrade, but has been a nomadic journey for over 30 years, blending experiences in innovation, leadership development, and business transformation with her passion for learning, spiritual grounding, and emerging visual art practice. She is a resident of the House of Beautiful Business, a published author, speaker, lecturer, and founder of ReVillage, an initiative focused on reimagining the future through creative, interdisciplinary leadership experiences. Sonja Kresojevic, welcome. I am thrilled to have you here on the Boundary Breakers Collective talk show.
Thank you for having me, Helena. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are now in Belgrade. You told me that you were in London before that. You were in France before that with your project. You were in Spain with me. You were like all over Europe, but you have been, oh no, you were also in South America. So in terms of traveling and being like a world traveler, that's already a first boundary breaking activity, I would say. But tell me, why do you feel that you are a boundary breaker?
I don't think that I recognize boundaries or that I have ever recognized boundaries. I think I have
Mm,
a reaction every time someone tells me that something is impossible. I have this body reaction that it has always, even when I was a child, would say, why would you think that something is impossible? My journey over the last 30 years from leaving Yugoslavia and living all over the world, navigating different careers. I studied engineering, which obviously now that I'm into art wasn't best suited for who I am really, but I did enjoy it for a long period of time because I loved math and physics. And so I started my career in science, in engineering. I moved into digital and business transformation and innovation and product development. I left corporate world 8 years ago now. I can't believe it feels like a lifetime ago, and went into starting my own businesses, two different businesses, doing consulting, doing coaching. Then during COVID, discovered art, not just as a passion, but as something that truly defines who I am in so many ways. And as of last year, as of last June, I am now nomad full time. So I don't really have a home. We just spoke about that. I have a tiniest storage unit in London that stores what's left of my belongings. And then the rest is me and the road and this co-creative process of I'm going where I'm called and I'm looking actively for opportunities where I can risk myself more, where I can risk my story, what I think I know about myself so that I can learn, meet interesting people, find points of connection. And this new project Revillage is all about that. How do we find connections in a world that is so disconnected? And how do we discover new ways of being in the world? How do we redefine what our future can be? Using creativity, playfulness, spirituality, all the practices we have, but abandoning the notion of known and really embracing uncertainty as an invitation to go and explore.
Yeah, interesting. I feel it's a little bit like a paradox, because indeed we live in a world that is so disconnected. And on the other hand, I feel that we also need to disconnect from some things in order to live our lives. Because when I listen at your story, basically you have disconnected from a lot of things. Although you also have built like a more traditional life. You grew up, you studied, you got married, you got children, you got a job in corporate. So these are things that, this is like the logical path. And at the same moment, you were pushing boundaries then already, And I feel like at a certain moment, you just said, okay, I have to break loose completely.
Yeah.
So disconnection can be positive. But I see in the world that we live in now that disconnection is not a good thing because it's mainly being disconnected from ourselves, from our soul, from our body also, from our heart. And so this is very paradoxical. If we talk about disconnection, how do you see that?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I did push boundaries all along, right? Although my path looked traditional in certain aspects, I wasn't that person. I was an immigrant. I was someone who was trying to understand the system in which I found myself, which wasn't really intuitively mine. I was trying to raise my kids in a very different way, which was very different from the environment in which we were living. We were in San Francisco when I had my first, and I sent her to Lycée Français. No one could understand why. But for me, that made sense. I wanted my daughter to grow up as I have been raised to feel as a global citizen, to learn about different cultures. When we moved to London, we lived in a very untraditional way. My kids would always joke and say sometimes, can you just be like a normal British or American mom? Or did you have to do all these things so differently from everyone else? I moved to New York with my son on my own. I didn't know a soul. I was a single parent and executive, and I had to navigate that journey on my own. I left that life completely to really go and then discover, okay, I was 45, 46, and I wanted to know what else is out there for me. Who else can I be? Because this life that I was living, in which I was succeeding with a lot of effort, because again, it was not intuitive to me. I had to learn how to mimic, how to adapt, how to do things in a way that the system expected of me, how to find ways to break rules. I was giving a speech at my son's school maybe a year ago, and they were asking me about my career. And in preparation for that, I was going through all the different roles I played, and I realized I never done a role on hard. The job description, the role title that I was hired for was never the role I did. From my first job, I would always morph it and change it into what is needed in the organization, where I feel I can contribute in the most best way and can be really of service, where I can push boundaries. What I've done at Pearson is unheard of still. It's been 10, 15 years. I read Lean Startup book and I said, okay, how would we apply this in a corporate of 40,000 people? And I broke the organization apart trying to do that. But in a really good way, we created a movement, we broke all the rules, we changed the way the whole innovation pipeline and all the other products funded. So we tackled all these big systemic issues in the organization. We changed the product management practices, we created a new culture in the organization. So yeah, instead of the role that I was hired for, which was this small, really, when you think about it, that any other executive would happily do 9 to 6, pick up a good paycheck at the end of the day and take good holidays and not worry about it. I created it into 17 hours a day. I was living and breathing this. There is no way, right? And broke every rule, broke myself in the process as well. That's true. But
Yeah, I see some things, Sonia, when you tell this story. I see a lot of courage and I see a lot of confidence. I also see a lot of out of the box thinking. So I feel that you believe that it is possible to break the system. And that's pretty extraordinary because a lot of us are living the lives that we're supposed to live. And I know maybe it was different for you because you came from Belgrade, you were in that war, you did have the option to stay, of course, but that would be not a good decision to make. But it was a driver for you to do things and you were completely out of your roots. And I feel that a lot of us who have this like more standard upbringing and then a standard country they live in or community they live in, where they don't need to rethink their lives because it's easy. It's a comfort zone. Everything is like that. Why would we question it? Why would we ask ourselves, is this right? Is this what we really want? Is this where we thrive as women? And there's so much judgment and so much control on what we do, what we say, how we do it. There's social media and things like that. you had to break loose in order to become. And so, as I said, it takes courage, but also this belief that you can break the system. And when I hear your story about Pearson, this is something like you say, really? Can this be done? And then if it can be done there, it can be done everywhere. So it just doesn't happen because we don't have enough women, we don't have enough people who are ready and willing and want to, I would not say suffer, but want at least to be in the discomfort of creating something new and breaking with all the things that were there for many years or decades or imposed by people that are not there anymore, that things that don't serve us anymore. So I'm always wondering and I'm always looking, okay, how can we set that up? What do we need as women in terms of what do we have to develop as muscles? I'm thinking resilience, courage, confidence in order to do that.
It's a big question, right? If I look at my Pearson days, yes, I have achieved a lot. I have succeeded in things that the organization felt was impossible and created that movement for people who all of a sudden were awakened and were starting to do things differently. So I know it's possible. I know it's possible to do that even within the system that is fighting hard to protect itself. But there is a cost individual that we need to take into account. And I paid a high price because I didn't have support that I need the organization. I didn't have enough back given by the rest of the executive team or even some of my colleagues. And I wasn't awake enough as a woman yet. I have sacrificed a lot of my feminine to achieve things. So looking back, I will have done things very different. And I think we as women need to rediscover our feminine side and reconnect with that. And we need to stop trying to do things in a way that the system is prescribing. We can't fight the system with the tools that the system is providing. There is this beautiful speech that Audre Lorde gave at one of the, I think, universities or Women's Congress years ago. And she talks about how the master's tools cannot fix the master's house. And this is, we have been given those tools and we have been trying to lean in, and I don't want to lean in anymore. When I use my masculine side to fight the system, I just want to first find a place of balance for myself. I want to reconnect my feminine, and it took me years to get to that place where I'm at peace with myself, where I have forgotten how to do things. If you were to give me that job again, I wouldn't even know how to do it the way I used to do it.
Yeah.
How much changed. I will
Yes.
for different type of support. I will have used different language. I will have created movements still, but in a very different way that was more feminine, more flowy. And I think this is what we need. We don't want to change the system necessarily. I think we want to create a new system that is
Exactly.
built on the premise of equality for all. And this system is not. So we are constantly on our back foot, fighting the fight that we cannot win. And frustrated, burning out, moving out from that system completely. How many women do we know of our age who are absolutely incredible, right? They rule the world. And on the
Absolutely.
women our age, if given opportunity, can fix this whole bullshit that we are finding ourselves in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and now saying, you know what, this is not worth it. I'm not giving you health. I'm not going to give you the rest of my life. I want to rediscover my joy. I want to do things that I feel passionately about. And if that means I'm going to do that on the outskirts of the system or completely outside of it, great. Yeah. Then want to connect with amazing men and women who are doing the same. And I want to feel inspired for the rest of my life. And we leave something, although that's not necessarily the only goal I have, but start to plant seeds for the future generation.
Yeah.
Because I think this we are finding ourselves in will not be fixed in the way that we are trying to fix it as we are at the moment. I don't think we have the tools to see the totality of the problem because our viewing is skewed by the lens through which we are seeing this.
Absolutely.
Through what we have been told, working first boundary that we as women need to break and we need to make sure our girls break it as soon as possible, early in their childhood, is stop trying to adapt.
Yes.
Stop trying to be nice girl. Stop trying to play this game of, oh, but if I adjust a little bit, if I make myself a little bit uncomfortable, maybe they will like me. Maybe they will under me. Maybe they will open the door for me. No,
Yeah.
no
Exactly.
door.
Yeah.
Close the whole door. Create your own table. Sit at your own table. Invite others to play
Yeah.
on your
So, yeah. And basically, that is what you have done. It's also what I have done. I live on the top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere doing my things, stepping away also from the traditional 9 to 5 or weekend or work holiday thing. It is all about integration and living your own life. And I hear a lot of women say, yeah, that's not possible for me because there's so many becauses. There's the children, or there's the financial situation, or there's so many that I would call excuses, just because we don't really think of these becauses and we forget to be resourceful. Because when you are in this comfort zone, although a lot of women will think they're not, because I see a lot of women that are anxious, that are uncertain, that are tired, that are depleted, but that's just because they stay in this comfort zone. That is actually not a comfort zone, but it is a zone that they know. And because even if it's completely dreadful, they know it. And I see a lot of people staying in a situation just because they know they are afraid to embrace the unknown. Actually, when you think of it, everything is unknown. Even in our comfort zone, we don't know what tomorrow will bring, or next week, or next month. And so I truly agree with you that we can build platforms and communities where we support and sponsor each other, especially if we want to break free from that and do the things that we are meant to do. And there's a spiritual side to that also, because we are not made, and we didn't come to the world to live these narrow lives. I'm not going to say these poor lives, but these narrow lives. We can do a lot more, and we can really change and have impacts. First of all, in how we raise our children. You have an adult daughter and a son. I have an adult son. The way that we manifest ourselves and the way that we live has an impact on them. And maybe they say, no, this is not for us. It's fine. But at least you show possibility and you show potential. My son always says, Mom, you're a hippie. And I say, okay, if this is your definition of a hippie, then I want to be a hippie. I don't care. And that's also, of course, very important to break free from that judgment and from what other people think, especially the people close to you who are mainly projecting their own fears or their own regrets on what you're doing with their comments. So it is very important to build that community of support, people that are like-minded and that really are there to have your back. And so when I look at your Revillage project, I feel that is something that you are doing now, right? Building that community.
I am, and I want to address that in a minute. I just want to react to what you said. I absolutely agree. Community, like-minded people, support, inspiration are crucial. I think it's very hard to navigate this journey on your own. But this journey ultimately is the inward journey, right? When we talk about freedom, it's easy. And I say that with a lot of experience, and I know it's going to trigger a lot of people, but I have to say it because I thought it was super hard. I agonized over so many of those big life decisions, whether it was my marriage when it was ending toward the end, or whether I should leave Pearson, whether I should leave my corporate career because I was a single parent. So I understand those fears. But trust me, after 9 years of doing this, those decisions and the aftermath of those decisions was actually easier, much more easier than breaking my mind structure apart and continue to do that because I don't think I will ever be completely free from everything that my mind imposes on a daily basis. All the beliefs, all the shoulds and could. And that's just because I had a relatively traditional corporate background, and you would think now that I'm more in the artist community, that you would find that people are very different. But even there, people are very set in their ways. People know they have their beliefs, whether that belief is I'm an artist, so I need to struggle and I need to be poor because that's how the system has conditioned us, or it's something else. But this fixed mindset is everywhere around. We
Mhm.
need to break that. That's the first step. We need to
Mhm.
question that. The freedom is not something that someone is going to hand on a piece of platter to us. The freedom is within.
Mhm.
And because I have decided to free myself from my story, from my beliefs, from all the ways I was doubting myself, all the ways I was judging myself, all the ways I created the boundaries where there was no need for boundaries.
Yeah.
The door was open all along. I could have walked away many years ago for some good reason. Thank God I decided to walk away 9 years ago, but not a linear journey. I have not arrived. There is no arriving. There is change
Exactly.
in our lives and community that also shifts and changes, because the people I was seeking 9 years ago are very different from the people I'm seeking now. If I want to continue to learn and grow, then I need to allow for the community that surrounds me to also be flexible, to be changing. So,
Yeah.
as sad as it is that some people are not in our lives anymore, that's normal part of the process. We don't need to fall out with people for them not to be in our lives on a daily basis. We can still love them, but the opportunity for growth is not there anymore. And that's the key. So we can learn to let go of our stories, let go of people that we shouldn't be holding on to, let go even of our children. As mothers, I don't think we are taught how to let go of our children and how to give them space. We define ourselves so much through that role. A lot of us do. We struggle juggling career and motherhood because the system doesn't support us. And we lose our identity in sacrificing for our kids and doing all these things. None of that helps them. None of
Mhm.
them can discover who they are because they're
Exactly.
not made to our liking. They're not cut from the same cloth. They're their own people and they need to discover that. So all we are supposed to do is hold them, hold space and give them permission.
Mhm.
It's and he asked me last week, he was going to Paris. He's been traveling like me. I think I have seeded the plan of traveling to him too. And on his journey to Paris, he called me and said, I'm thinking of getting another tattoo. And maybe he expected me to say, are you sure? Do you want to think about it? And I said, your body, your choice. The guy was blown away. He was like, are you sure about it? I'm like, what am I to say? You want me
Yeah.
to
Are
make
you sure? Yeah.
to be sure. You don't need to convince me. But
Exactly.
he took a gap year last year because he wasn't sure what he wanted to study. And that was beautiful to see him
Uh-huh.
fail, to see him not be sure, to see him struggle with his decision, to see him then embrace his freedom, sense of
Grow into that. Yeah.
growing to that, to work on his relationship with his father on his own. I wasn't there to do any of the mothering. I became a really good friend who is somewhere in the world. He wasn't even always sure where I was. And for the first time, I didn't feel selfish. I didn't feel like I have abandoned him.
Yeah.
I you to do something more. No, I have given so much. And what is more important than everything, I have given him the tools. I have
Yeah.
given the
Exactly.
example. I didn't do just the talk. I shown him by example that we can be free, that freedom
That's
has
the big thing. Yeah.
with job, with money, with house, with all these things that we become slaves to, that we can be free traveling with one suitcase or not. You
Yeah.
can be free working in a corporate world. If you're
Exactly.
in your
Right.
mind, you're not
Yeah.
aligned stories of how it has to be to take for
Yeah.
your.
Yeah,
I think
exactly. I really like you're mentioning this, Sonia, because it's not like everybody has to break free in a way that they just pack their suitcase and they go travel around the world. That's absolutely not what we want to bring here. It is about really deciding and choosing consciously what you want to do. And I really admire also women that say, I choose consciously to bring up my family or to self-educate my children. It is not about breaking free from everything. It is about breaking free what is not serving you. And also knowing that we live in phases. You could not do what you are doing now if your children were 1 or 2 years old. These are phases. It is about that awareness, that consciousness about who you are and who you can be in the system. And if you cannot be who you want to be or become in the system, than it is how to get out of it, albeit with some parts that at least in some parts of your life you can experience that freedom and that you can experience that self-actualization. Because of course, it's not like everything is that simple. And it's like you say, Sonja, you have suffered, you have agonized to get where you are. Absolutely. It's not like the simple click solution.
Lost for a long time because, the old was disappearing from my life. The new wasn't clear. I wasn't sure who I was anymore without all the structures I had built for myself. The relationships in which I was were failing. I had to unlearn and then relearn a lot. And
Yeah.
that place in which I'm happy right now, which is a place of flow. That doesn't need to be on the road for the rest of my life. No, the flow has nothing actually to do with the movement. The movement is part of my story because I get inspired in my travels. I get to meet different parts of myself. I get to meet people who correspond to that part. I grow and learn through all these journeys. And this is needed for me right now. It will not be like that the rest of my life. We talked before the interview already about I'm starting slowly to think about how can I start to build a structure, but in a different way that is not constructive. What is the word I'm looking for? That is not creating now constraint to my life.
Yes.
Me. I need a structure that is fluid as I am, that can support me, which I can continue to grow. I need a place that I can paint. So I need my physical studio. It cannot always be on the go. So I'm starting to experiment with what that structure could look like and where that could be. And I know myself, it will not be traditional because I don't do traditional anymore. But yes, doesn't mean we'll have to abandon all our lives and go on the road for the rest of our lives. That's not the idea. But I think there need to be periods of forgetting the old, of, of undoing, of being surprised again, of rediscovering the inner child. I think that's been the biggest revelation of my life. And I think this is where the art and playfulness came from. And now I can even do other things. If I work with my business clients, I can bring that to those engagements. So I'm not split into two like I was at the beginning of the journey. The one at home that is doing creative stuff and working on herself. And then, okay, but I now need to do something to make money. So I better go and pick up a few innovation gigs. So I'm going to go do that. That worked for a while, but after a year or two, I just felt like I was pulled in too many directions. And it didn't feel like I was doing the business work from a place of integrity because I was giving the old me who and I wasn't that anymore. So,
I love you use that word integrity because I was just thinking it when you just spoke it out. Integrity is also about wholeness. It is about integrating everything that you are. And too much we are looking at ourselves as the professional and the family wife, and then there's other things also, but we try to separate. Actually, we cannot really separate that. That's why in my coaching work, I also have this holistic approach because everything is interconnected. And when you work on one thing, it has an impact on the other parts of us. And we try to split this. I don't know where this comes from, but we try to split this and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We are one person and we cannot have different values and different attitudes and different attributes when we work than when we. That's why they probably say work life, which for me is also a very strange thing. Work life balance and work life happiness. Does that mean when you work you don't live, or does it mean when you live you don't work? The way I look at it, it is contribution. Yeah. If people say you do this for your work, I say no, I do this to contribute. I have a vision on about the world and about how I want to live. And I also have a vision about the world that I want to live in. And based on that, I have developed a mission. And so I contribute. I don't. That's also, and I believe you have the same. That's also why we are able to make everything so fluid and in a flow, because we don't have a Monday till Friday. We don't have a weekend or work time, pleasure time. It's pleasure. I have fun in what I do, even bringing these talk shows or in coaching or writing or producing videos. For me, it's fun because it's contributing to a vision and a mission that I want to manifest in the world. And this is something that we should also teach our children. that this is what it is about, because it's especially the young generations, they are going they're going to live their lives in a completely different way than we are. Although we try to set the rules again and to bring them into the system, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We are living in a different world. And if we are not going to change it, it will be changed by all the bad things that are institutionalized and that are in the system. If you look at politics, if you look at countries, governments, organizations, this is not going to last. It is impossible. It is impossible. And then we can choose if we do something in order to create, like you say, the new system or create a new table, or if we are just going to watch and see everything fall, or maybe get a lot worse before they fall, but it will fall.
It will. I want to address something you have said because I think it's important. Where does this division come from? I think it comes from a lot of us being brought up to believe that we are not enough. That being a woman, girl, a female is not enough, right? And whether that's something you have been told by your parents or by your teachers, or you just intuitively sensed in the system that was designed with someone else in mind, or you have only experienced that when you started working, which where it started happening for me. I never sensed that as a child necessarily. When you start to mimic, when you start to adapt yourself to what you think the environment is asking you to do, then you're starting to hide a really big part of yourself. And that part may come alive more in the home environment where you feel safer, or it may not come alive in your home environment because over years you have made that feminine side so dormant that it doesn't come out in any of your relationship, which means even as a mother, show up with masculine energy. So just look, many of us have mothered with that. I'm going to do everything for you. I'm going to organize your life. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to sacrifice. I'm going to do. But I'm not going to be soft because I don't really necessarily know how to be soft. I don't necessarily know how to just listen and be there without jumping in the fix and say and do everything.
Jumping into the solution, jumping into the action, jumping into saving that.
Masculine, right? Where is it just holding the space? Where is it just playing with our children, right? How many of us have been so busy that we have outsourced playing part to someone else, right? Exactly. When my daughter was 5, I went on a business trip and she convinced her dad to let her wear a top. And to this day, we laugh about it. That I said, absolutely, you cannot wear that to school. It's not appropriate. She convinced her dad, of course, who would say yes to murder, because he never wanted to have that kind of relationship, right? You argue or convince or punish or anything, discipline. So she said, oh, mom is tough. I'm scared of mom, dad. With dad, you can do whatever you want. And I look at that with regret now because I didn't have that relationship with my girl earlier. We found our way over the years and it's much, much better now. But we have struggled, especially through teenage years, because I didn't know how to be that mom, to just open, listening, big heart, and nothing else. And with my, I course corrected, and as a result, our relationship is fundamentally different, and it's painful sometimes to see the difference. It is. Another thing I want to mention, because it's coming up now for me, it's the judgment. We are the masters of the judgment, right? And especially for ourselves, exactly. So I don't want for any of the women listening to think that I can't do that, and hence I'm going to judge myself. I'm going to judge myself for not being courageous enough, for not being brave enough, for not being this, for not being that. We need to let go of the judgment of ourselves, of each other. We need to build a strong community of women who are actually loving and caring and supportive of each other. No judge, no expectation, not when it comes to our looks, not when it comes to our careers. What a different world we will have just in our own right if we can do that for ourselves and for each other.
Absolutely.
Even touching the rest of the masculinity and how toxic it is in the system. If we can just focus on the feminine at the moment. And it's not gender-based at all, because men need to rediscover feminine as well.
Absolutely.
Mobility and creativity and playfulness and joy to their lives as well. And we need to heal the masculine. We can't have this toxic masculinity that is ruling the world. We need to find a place of balance, not just in our personal lives, but in our organizations, in our democracy, in our institutions, in our government.
Totally
And
agree.
the balance is not, I'm going to put 40% of my ministers, of my parliament in the hands of women. That's not the quality or balance. We are talking about healing masculine and feminine. That's very different kind of balance. Is the criteria on which we are basing decisions infused with that balance? Because if it's not, then the 40% of women in the British Parliament tomorrow is not going to make any difference because the criteria is still toxic masculine. And we are just imposing and torturing the women and asking them to perform according to criteria.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how we actually change the system. We change the system by changing how we have designed it, what criteria we are using.
Exactly.
What are the values? What is the criteria we are using for making our decisions? What do we feel is important in our lives? Then we start to change the system by infusing that balance, not by saying, you be more balanced, but the system is still what it was before. And it's still judging you. So according to that system and that criteria, I'm now not a successful rebreaker that maybe you can have on your show. I'm not a top executive. I'm not breaking all the rules in corporate world. I'm not making the money that I used to make. So according to the checklist that the system used to run against me, I'm not that anymore. And thank God not, because I'm a million more interesting and more creative, playful, and I can actually help and be of service in ways that the system cannot even understand. That's what we surely that's what we need. We need people like that to open doors to new possibilities, to embrace that uncertainty, not as scary. It's actually a good and positive thing, as an invitation where we can go and explore and create something new that cannot be held by the system that is trying to imprison us all. We need to be free individually so that we can all collectively be free. And then only then can we create something new. And for me, Privilege is about it. That's why I started Privilege, to bring diverse groups of people who are passionate about believing that we can have a very different future, plural, not one. That don't have to be just one thing. I don't have to just be corporate or artist or entrepreneur. I have a right to be all three on any given day.
Exactly.
That's
like
else that I want to be. I don't want to feel like, oh, I have arrived at being an artist and that's it. No, I want to go and see what else I can be.
Of course.
Learn how else I can grow. And if I can allow myself that freedom, that's the freedom, right? Then I can allow that freedom to you, to my children, to my partners, to my friends, to my family, to everyone. Then we can create the free world.
Yeah.
Well, the world will not be created by someone else. It will not be created by our government. Come on. It cannot be created by the rules we have imposed that is making our lives smaller and smaller every day.
Yeah. Beautiful. These are beautiful words. And I'm sure, Sonja, that we will be on another Boundary Breakers Collective talk show, because there's so much more we can say. But I would like to end it here for today. And my main message from what you said is, you can be everybody. You can be everything. There's endless possibilities. There's infinite possibilities. And we can see, like you do, we can see things like as an experiment. And so if you want to connect with me or with Sonja, you will find us on LinkedIn, on other social media. If you want to find out more about Sonja's experiment, Revillage, you will find a lot also on her LinkedIn and on her website. We will make sure that all the information is on the show page and is below. And I'm pretty sure that we have shaped you a little bit with this edition. And we love to do that. That's also why I was so happy to have Sonja here on my show. So thank you so much, my dear friends, to be here, to share your wisdom and to share your ideas and your vision and to shake the world a little bit more. And as I said, just go out there and be everybody and be everything. This is the most important message that we can give each other. So take care. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.